Greetings, YouTube. Alan here, and to my subscribers, the Lubers, rise up. I'm here with a Bravo deck tech, as I said I was going to do, and I was surprised at how many of you wanted to actually see this, because I feel like every Bravo deck is honestly kind of the same for the most part, but I'll just show you my take on it. It's nothing too crazy. I play it, I would say, slightly more aggressive than the average Bravo, so let's get right into it. We got Bravo, the hero. Pay 2, on-demand dominate with attack actions that cost 3 or greater. Pretty good, especially with disruption. 2 seismic surges, 1 to create on your turn, 1 for when it pops, and yeah, be sure you have 2 when you play in a competitive event. I have Anathos, just the weapon, swings for 4 normally, or 6 if you have 2 cards with cost 3 in your pitch. Very good. I have Arcanite Skullcap. I actually want this card to be Crown of Providence, so pretend this is Crown of Providence. I'll be getting one soon. Tectonic Plating, makes surges, blocks 3, very good. Crater Fist, it has the effect of giving crush cards +2 and it costs 3, but for the most part it'll just be blocking 3. Sometimes you'll get this off in a game, but not too often. And then Quelling Slippers. I want to run Quelling Slippers over Iron Rot just to see how it goes. I think the fact that it can hit breakpoints is really nice, and the fact that if you play something like a Staunch and you have 1 floating, this can potentially save you. Yeah, I just wanted to try it over Iron Rot. Next, I have 3 Null Rune. Null Rune boots for the Rune Blades, like Viscera and Briar, and 2 more Null Rune for the Wizards, like Icelander and Kano. So sideboarding, the equipment is very simple. I just have the 5 base equipment, Weapon, Crown of Providence, Tectonic, Crater Fist, Quelling Slippers, and if you're playing against a Rune Blade, you put in the Null Rune boots, and if you're not, if you're playing against a Wizard, you put in 3 Null Rune and Tectonic Plating. Very easy. Alright, let's go into the reds. 3 Crippling Crushes. The Bravo specialization, very good card. You've probably seen it a ton by now against in Starvo. And in Bravo, it's a little more fair, but card is still very good. And then we have 3 Spinal Crushes. So many decks nowadays rely on Go Again, so turning that off is very huge. Even against decks like Bravo, making a Seismic Surge requires Go Again, activating Dominate requires Go Again. So this is just a good card in basically every matchup. Pulverize, like the playmat, it's very hard to play, but it's so rewarding to play, so I decided to put them in. It turns on Rouse, heaving is really fun, and drawing it on turn 1, and you can heave it and make a surge is also very powerful. So I just have them in. Great turn 1 play. Otherwise, it blocks, it pitches, it's fine. I have the 6 Defense Reacts, Sinks Below, and Fate Foreseen. Bravo, I would say, is kind of like a mid-rangey deck. You kind of pick and choose your battles of when you block and when you want to disrupt. So having these to help defend better and to cycle through your deck, I think is very important. So I have these 6. Command and Conquer was a hot topic in Bravo for such a long time, and I've been on the Command and Conquer train for a while now, and it's honestly, I think it's one of the best cards in Bravo, because when someone plays against a Bravo, they will side in more defense reacts. And even if they're an aggressive deck that has no defense reacts, this still blows up their arsenal and stops them from having 5-card hands. So I still think this card is very good. Pummel, of course, very strong. Can swing Anathos for 10, or you can hit an attack action like Command and Conquer, blow up their arsenal, and make them discard a card. Or it synergizes with things like Spinal Crush, Disable. You can even play it on Crippling Crush. Just a great card. Great card. And then, so yeah, that's all the reds. There is 21 reds. And let's go into the blues. The blues will make up the rest of the deck for 39 cards, totaling 60. And so first, we have 3 blue pummels. I just love pummel, so I have 6 of them. Who knows, maybe I'll even throw in a yellow one. I have 3 Rouse the Ancients. If you play this and reveal 13 attack in your hand with attack actions, then it has +7 and Go Again. So all of the blue attacks in my deck, I kind of just picked like the strongest attacks and went from there. And so this is all to like make Rouse as consistent as possible, you know, reducing the amount of non-attack actions. So things like Towering Titan or Stamp Authority, I choose not to run because they're just not good enough and they don't synergize with Rouse. So Rouse, we have 3 Crush the Weaks. This is the only 5 base attack blue that I run. And this is good against things like all the Belittle decks like 5, Viscera, Briar, if they're on like the Belittle package. So this paired with the Pummel can like stop their turn pretty nicely. So yeah. Next on to the 6 attack blues. Chokeslam. Opponent's attacks can't gain attack. Good against things like Lexi when they play like Rain Razors or Bolton Shot. So that's nice. Debilitate. If it crushes, their first attack gains -2. It's nothing too crazy, but it's just nice value for the most part. You won't be playing these attacks though. These are mainly just pitch cards and block cards, but there are some times where you have a pummel in hand and you want to just disrupt them with an attack action plus pummel. So keep that in mind. Buckling Blow, if it crushes, put a -1 counter on equipment they control. This used to be paired with Mangle to blow up equipment, but I don't think Mangle's good enough anymore, so I just have these as 6 attack blues in the deck. We have Disables, 5 attack or 7 attack blue, costs 5. On an off turn with like a 4 blue hand, you can make a surge and still attack with Disable, so it's pretty good. And the crush effect is they put a card in their arsenal on bottom of their deck, so it's pretty good disruption as well. It's easy for the opponent to block for the most part, but like just forcing them to block is pretty good. We have Cranial Crush. This is just an 8 attack blue, costs 6. And if it crushes, the opponent can't draw cards during their action phase. So good against things like Lexi, Rhinar for Blood Rush Bellow, or Lexi's 3 of a kind. Honestly, like every crush effect in this deck is good against Lexi, because like every form of disruption kind of screws over Lexi, but it is what it is. Thunderquake, this is another just 8 attack blue, cost 6. You can heave it, make 3 surges, and so the next turn you can play it by only pitching 1 blue. So 3 for 8 is pretty good rate, but you need to heave beforehand. And also the worry about heaving is that if your opponent pressures your hand and you can't get this out of arsenal, it can get stuck. But that's what Crown of Providence is for, saving those situations. So nice card to have. Macho Grande, 3 Macho Grandes. It's 8 dominate, cost 7. It's just a good card. It helps finish games. You'll be pitching this for the most part, and then if you see it towards the end of the game and it can finish the game, it's very nice. Now on to the non-attacks. We have 3 Terra Sunder, probably the best non-attack in the deck. A 3-card hand of 3 blues. You can play Terra Sunder and then hit with Anathos for 7 dominate, and if it hits, they discard 2 cards. If your opponent doesn't have D-Reacts or armor, this card is so powerful. So just a great card. And then we have the Aura package, which is basically 3 Showtime, 3 Imposing Visage. This is basically just 6 copies of Showtime. This card really only matters if you're going first, because then you can play Showtime and then tutor out either a Crippling Crush or a Pulverize, and then you can arsenal the Crippling Crush or you can heave the Pulverize. And so if you have Imposing Visage, that just basically doubles your odds of finding a Showtime, because you can pitch 2 blues to play Imposing Visage, search out the Showtime from your deck, and then do the same thing. Either heave the Pulverize or search for the Crippling Crush to arsenal. So this is great. If I was going second, you could sideboard these cards out, but they also cost 3 and block 3. So there's unfortunately not enough sideboard space to put in more like going second cards. Like I could put in more attack actions like Crush Confidence if I wanted to, but not enough sideboard space. So just going with these 6 in the main deck for the most part. So that covers the main deck, 60 cards. So let's go into the sideboard. For the sideboard, I have 6 cards that I am for certain I want to run. I have 3 Red Zealous Beltings and then 3 Blue Staunches. So the Red Zealous Beltings are for decks where you need to be more aggressive. So things against like Prism or things like Dash or things like Dromai. Also, most of the attacks in this deck have more than 5 attacks, so Zealous is very consistent. And then the 3 Blue Staunches are for decks you want to be more defensive against. So things like Bravo, things like Dorinthia, things like Oldham, where you need like some defense reactions for their Dominate or for Dorinthia's Dawnblade, things like that. So yeah, these 6 I'm pretty certain on. And for now, I just have 3 more Yellow Zealous Beltings, and I have 3 Red Staunches. So the Yellow Zealous Beltings I've become a fan of in like Prism and Dromai. It just really helps with those matchups. And it's really nice to be able to take out 6 of the red defense reactions, the Fates and the Sinks, for these 6 cards to be more aggressive. But I will say the Red Staunches I'm not completely sold on. The Blue Staunches for sure I want, but the Red Staunches can seem a bit overkill. So I'll decide what I want to replace there for now. So let's go into some cards that I'm not running and why, or if I want to run them. So let's start with Lead the Charge. So this is a Prism tech. 3 Lead the Charge blues plus Time Skippers used to be good to help control their auras, but now with the blue auras, Prism just has too many auras. I don't think you can even try to control the auras. I think you just go face, and if you have like a Zealous or a Rouse, you can sometimes hit an aura, but for the most part, you just need to pressure their life in their hand with Dominate and Crippling Crushes and things like that. And also, the deck now runs more high attack cards or cards that don't cost 3. So you don't run Crush Confidence anymore. You don't run Cartilage Crush anymore. And because of that, it's actually really hard to get Lead the Charge off. Like you need a Seismic Surge plus like a 4 cost attack and 2 more blues to just it's pretty hard. So I wouldn't run this anymore. I would just if you get matched up against a Prism, just cry and then take a walk and then get ready for your next match. Crush of the Week, red. I am heavily considering this card because of all the little hype that's out there with Fi or Briar or Viscerai. So this is nice to come in for the defense reacts because zero cost defense reacts like Fate and Sync versus Viscerai can be pretty detrimental because a lot of times they come in with a lot of rune chant damage with things like Revel in Runeblood and Rosetta Thorn. So having those red defense reacts can be a liability. So having something like Crush Confidence to be more disruption for them is quite nice. If you're expecting a lot of Viscerai, I might consider Crush Confidence or something like Erase Face to just disrupt them more and play with that game plan. So yeah. Next card that I took out was the 3 Unmovables. This used to be like a mainstay in Bravo. You'd see this in literally every Bravo deck because it's blue and it costs 3. And it's a defense react, and Bravo was a defensive deck, right? So I would consider putting these back in, but I would consider putting these in for the sideboard. The thing is, they don't synergize with Rouse. It doesn't synergize with Zealous Belting. So it can break your hand. And if you like draw a hand with 2 Unmovables and you need to block really badly, then it can make your blocking very awkward. So I think this card definitely can be a liability, but I think in the right matchup, it can still shine against things like Bravo, Dorinthia, Oldhim. So I might put these back in as a sideboard over the red staunches, but we'll see. Next up, we have the life gain. Oh yeah, Blessing of Deliverance plus Sigil. These cards, I used to think were so amazing back then, but now, like, after like Everfest and stuff, or just after playing without it, I realized how much I don't need these cards. Like Sigil is okay because like it gains 3 and it blocks 3 basically. So like for example, if someone swings at you with Rosetta Thorn for 2 and 2 and you play a Sigil, you block 3 with 1 card. Pretty good, right? Like you don't care about the split damage. But there are so many turns where I just draw this card and it does nothing for me when I have tempo and it just like breaks my hand, or like I need to block an on hit and I have a Sigil. It's just this card I think it's seen its heyday already and it's past that point now. Blessing of Deliverance is like, I feel like this card can encourage just bad play sometimes. Like sometimes you'll have 1 blue and a Blessing in hand, and you'll be like, okay, if I play the Blessing and I draw another blue, I can swing Hammer. So then you'll play the Blessing, and then you'll draw a red, and then your turn will just brick. So I hate when that happens. I hate like gambling on what I want to draw, and the life gain is honestly just doesn't even matter that much, honestly. Like even if you gain 3, you show your opponent what cards are going to be your next hand, so it's not super amazing. And it's another aura that like Prism can respond to. It's just, I don't know. Don't like it. Don't like it anymore. I'm done with Blessing. Even with Embolden, I don't think the card was good. So I haven't run this in a while. Probably will never run this again. Unless in the future there's some like crazy Fatigue Guardian deck that everyone hates playing against that runs this card. But yeah, I think this card has also just like seen its day and it's kind of past that point already. Remembrance, I basically feel the same. So the thing with Remembrance is that like you would only run this in matchups that like go super long and you could potentially deck out. So that will be things like the Bravo Mirror or the Oldhim. But the thing is like, since more cards have come out and more threats have come out, you don't really need Remembrance to cycle your Crippling Crushes back in. And just like a lot of the other cards, I hate drawing into this when I have tempo and I need to like keep tempo. Like imagine you're playing versus an Oldhim and you're just like going face, he's blocking out. And then all of a sudden you draw like a 2 blue hand, a Pummel, and a Remembrance. And you're just like, well, this hand doesn't do that much. And Remembrance is like, also if you're playing against a deck and they have tempo and you need to block, or if they have on hits and you have Remembrance, then it just feels super bad. So I don't really think this card's necessary anymore, but it depends. If you're playing against like someone you know is trying to fatigue you, maybe you can sideboard one of these in. And then lastly, we have the Mage Master plus Tome of Findall combo. This combo used to be like very popular in Bravo, especially around like Nationals time of last year. Just because Bravo didn't have very good boot options. Like you can have Iron Rot legs, but even that's not great. So this was an okay combo. Just like the other cards, I just think it's not consistent enough. Like it doesn't cost 3, so it doesn't work with your game plan of Anathosing. It only blocks for 2, and when you draw it, you're heavily incentivized to Arsenal it. So if your Arsenal is empty, it's great. You can like block with 3 cards, Arsenal, Tome of Findall, call it a day. But what if your Arsenal is not empty? What if you have a Crippling Crush in there and you have a Tome of Findall, a red, and 2 blues? All of a sudden, you need to get that Crippling Crush out of your arsenal so you can Arsenal this card, and it just makes your turns more awkward. You can definitely high roll with this card and get some like really good value off of it, but it's just kind of like a win more card, and it's not consistent enough for me, so I decided to take it out. And so yeah, I think that was just about everything about my Bravo deck. All the reds, all the blues, the sideboard. cards that I wouldn't run, cards that I'm considering running, and yeah, that was just about everything from me. If you like the video, please like it. If you have any suggestions or anything you think that I'm wrong about or that I'm missing, please comment and subscribe, because that would make me happy. Thanks. See ya.